So, gut health and sunlight, two things that we don't intermix when it comes to optimizing our gut health or our hormones. And sunlight is one of those things that we've overlooked over the years, including myself, to where it's gotten to a point where we separate it from all other things health, all other things in terms of strength, recovery, hormone health, and ultimately weight optimization. So I want to connect the dots here for you and help you understand how really the foundation to your whole entire program is centered around getting sunlight and getting it at optimal times and what it does for your body and what it does for your gut health. Because we've been hammered for so long, especially in functional medicine, that gut health is the ultimate thing that controls everything else. But what we're not paying attention to is actually what affects gut health. And we think it's food, we think it's mood, we think it's some other factors like probiotics or dysbiosis or low stomach acid that ultimately causes the gut issues. But what we're not paying attention to is the ultimate thing that can live and exist without us or our gut, which is light, which is sunlight specifically. Sunlight provides all life with the key energy points that allow it to thrive, for us to eat it, and then for us to gain energy from it. But we really don't focus on what gives us energy outside of food. We don't understand how water, how electrolytes, how movement, how magnetism and light ultimately provide us with a vast amount of the energy that we experience. We're so fixated on nutrition, we're so fixated on food, the physical substance, that we don't pay attention to actually what brought that food into our our body. And that's ultimately sunlight. Now, what I want you to understand is that the gut bacteria in your gut are actually emitting light. It's known as a very low grade, very low measure of UV light. And I believe they call it micro UV light. And this is really important because each bacterial strain in your gut, and there's millions, if not billions, of different strains that emit different photons in your stomach. And this is ultimately what impacts the red blood cells that surround and fill and permeate your stomach, which then deliver the nutrients to your body and the signals to your body. I want to make a point here that the nutrients are really at the core a light signal. And the light signal actually lets your body know what time it is, what it needs to do, and what the next steps are. Every single gene in front of it has what's known as a clock gene, and each clock gene is signaled by light. So when you get sunlight first thing in the morning, it triggers a whole genetic cascade of things to ultimately carry throughout the entire day, including at night. And this impacts your hormones, this impacts your metabolism, this impacts your mood, your energy, how you feel, and ultimately how you look, right? So we can account this to weight loss, we can account this to gut health, we can account this to overall metabolism. And metabolism is just every chemical reaction happening within the body, how many calories you burn, the nutrients that you digest, break down, and actually absorb and utilize. You don't absorb and utilize everything, that's a gut dysfunction, right? So you're not actually, what you're doing is you're not actually emitting the proper type of light sequence within the gut to signal the blood and therefore the genes within that blood to carry out certain actions and movements. So not to complicate this, but we're really getting down to what's called the root source to ultimately all things health. I'll give you an example of how light can actually impact the gut. So your eyes are actually directly tied and produce certain enzymes and certain key chemicals that signal to ultimately the gut about what's going on, and the bacteria react to that light. So you got blood flowing through the eye, which ultimately translate back down into the gut. So this brain gut axis is a real thing, but the blood is the information carrier. So when the blood gets exposed to certain light, your eyes produce, along with your brain, certain chemicals that then ultimately lead and travel down to the gut to absorb the energy or the light emitted from the gut. And then that light is then carried out throughout the rest of the body. So really, the circulation between the heart, the gut, the brain, and the eyes, that's where the majority, your blood is constantly flowing through these mechanisms and systems to carry out information to let know the rest of the body what to do and how to act, right? So it's a complicated system, but I want to just simplify it. your gut is tied directly to your eyes. It's connected directly to your skin. When you go out into the sun, you create nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator, which allows for blood flow to go to the surface of the skin to collect the photons from the sunlight, which then create a circulation to then transfer it to the stomach and then therefore to the brain and everywhere else in the body. So this is just a constant sequence that's happening all the time. And when we separate ourselves from the sun, when we put ourselves into artificial light where we're only getting one spectrum of color, that starts to create an imbalance within the absorption of the light through our eyes to the blood, which ultimately creates a different emission of light in the gut, and it produces or overstimulates a certain strain or certain strains of bacteria. So certain bacteria are very liking of blue light spectrum, which is really emitted from artificial light, right? Where there's other type of bacteria, including our own mitochondria within every cell in your body, is very adaptive to UVB and UVA light. So it likes the UV light, which is very unusual for a lot of bacteria because UV light can kill a lot of bacteria. And so UV light actually from the sun can help balance out the gut as well. And so there's ways of measure to understand this at a deeper level so that you can take advantage of the free resources that we have around us that we ultimately remove ourselves from. So I wanted to just put this out there for anybody who's experiencing gut health issues, and we're looking at it from a different perspective because I used to treat gut issues with lab testing and then therapeutic supplementation, and these are effective measures, but we're not getting to the root cause of ultimately what impacts the gut ultimately. And it's our exposure to light. It's our exposure to EMFs and toxicities that we don't necessarily deem as toxins, but they truly are. Everything is light at the end of the day. It's a frequency, it's a wave point. And through that, it impacts not only our gut, but our entire system as a whole. So when you want to get into holistic hormone optimization, holistic energy optimization, holistic weight optimization, it all comes down to the exposure to different frequencies of light and how you can optimize that. So if you want to learn more how you can customize a plan for yourself and that you can look at this from a more understanding level to where you can actually implement it at a very deep level and be foundational with your health to ultimately drive all the results you want. I've experienced this, especially in the past year, taking away lab testing, taking away supplementation, and just focus on foundational practices, light being one of those. Hydration at a level where it's not just about drinking water, but how you prep the water, the electrolytes that you take in, and then ultimately the magnetism and movement that is created through proper lifestyle optimization. All these things, living right is ultimately the encompassing factor that drives all other things in your life. It'll make your work better, it'll make your sleep better, it'll make everything you look, feel, and enjoy about life better, and as a result, you look better as a result of it. So it's really a holistic approach. We're not just treating one factor, we're looking at everything. And to teach you step by step along the way is where you really gain the momentum, because knowledge, when you put it into action, becomes power, becomes wisdom, right? And this is how you become healthy. It's not just putting a practice into play. It's actually you understanding and applying the knowledge to where you gain the true wisdom, because you'll see the results from it, you'll feel the results from it, and that's how you just become this naturally healthy person. You can regain your health, you can regain control of your body, and ultimately get the most out of life. So hopefully this provides some more knowledge and some better understanding between the link between gut health and sunlight. And if you want to learn more, as I said, just shoot me a message and we can set up a call or talk more. If you have any questions on what we just talked about, just shoot me a message on it and I'd be happy to talk more about this. Thanks for watching. Take care.